All right. Hello and welcome to episode 13 of Behind the Mind. I'm your host, Kevin Meiselman. And on today's episode, I have a really, really special guest. I know you guys know this is the first time I'm doing a video episode. So a little bit of a different look, but I really just wanted to kind of broadcast this conversation as it's a really, really awesome guy who's doing some amazing things. So I'm happy to introduce Michael Sweetney. He was the ninth overall pick in the 2003 NBA draft. He played for the Knicks, the Bulls. He was also a dominant NCAA player in college. He played overseas, and now he's coaching Division III basketball. So I'm happy to introduce Michael Sweetney.
How you doing, guys? Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. So,
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for
yeah,
joining me. It's definitely the first NBA player I've had on. So this is just a really awesome treat for you guys who are big
awesome.
sports fans. So we'll be having a
Yeah,
little mental health talk for sure, but then
mhm,
definitely talk some basketball things as well.
for
Um,
sure.
But yeah, Mike, I definitely just want to first get started. A lot of people, they don't really see athletes as capable of having these types of issues. The perception is these are bigger than life stars. They're invincible. Normal problems don't affect them. And you're just another example that just couldn't be farther from the truth. So during your rookie year, I mean, you were on the New York Knicks. You had it all. You were on a billboard, middle of Times Square.
Yeah.
You were really like a big name coming out of college. So could you just talk a little bit about all that fame and then also how mental health played a role in kind of your transition to the NBA and unfortunately was kind of a tough situation for you.
Yeah, I think for me, it was a tough situation because, right before my rookie season, my father died a week before, the season of a massive heart attack. So it was like sudden. So I literally had to bury my father, and 2 days later, I'm in training camp. So I really didn't have time to really, digest and accept, what was going on, what has happened. So I immediately just went straight into basketball training camp. And usually, basketball is like, whatever's going on in life, sometimes basketball is like your outlet to escape and just release. And things didn't go well basketball wise. There was, the Knicks had a lot going on, as they always do. But the Knicks had a lot going on. So I was kind of put in a position where, the basketball part wasn't my outlet anymore. So I had, going to work every day was miserable. And then at home, dealing with the loss of my father. So there was like really no outlet for me. So, as that going on, the depression really started to kick in. And I just started like really going in a dark path. And at that time back then, people wasn't really comfortable talking about mental health or depression. So I was scared to say something. So I pretty much just hid it from the world, hid it from everybody, and just suffered in silence. And it got to a, obviously a court with me where I tried to end up, taking my life. And so it just, became a, a huge task. And luckily I'm here to tell a story. But eventually I ended up getting, after my career was over, I ended up getting the correct help that I needed to heal and accept things and kind of move forward. So definitely I agree. With you say with basketball stars, basketball people, or any sports stars in general, you're labeled as this tough person that doesn't have any problems, and it's further from the truth. Because you say we're all human just like everybody else.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You just being such a big name and did that kind of make you want to hide what you were going through a little bit more? You didn't want to maybe upset the Knicks. You didn't want to upset ownership. You didn't want to upset your teammates. Was it difficult to kind of be open with the locker room and the organization while this was all going on?
Oh, for sure, definitely difficult. Because like I said, you're taught that because you got a certain amount of money in your bank account, you're say going billboards, you're on the Knicks, so why should you be going through this stuff? So it was one of those things I was scared. I didn't want to, I didn't want to upset, people that helped me get to where I was, that I'm at this point. So there's so many things I just didn't want to upset people instead of just saying, what, I'm gonna do this for me and myself. Because I think people at that point would have understood. But I didn't see it that way, and I was really, wasn't comfortable on telling anybody, so I hid it.
And when you kind of look back at what was happening, what do you think would have changed it? Obviously, it started as a really painful incident, losing your father, not something many people can always relate to, let alone people with this much pressure to show up to
Mhm.
work and put on a show for so many nights in a row. It obviously is a lot to deal with. Do you think there was anything you could have done differently that might have kept you on a path away from, let's say, a suicide attempt? And
Mhm.
obviously, this question is to help people who might be dealing with their own things right now.
It's a good question. I think for me, what I would change definitely is, speaking up, asking for help at that time, or just, talking to somebody. And I tell us all the time when I talk to people, I was like, look, the more you holding it in, thinking that you're going to tough it out and be okay, doing it by yourself is just not going to happen. And, I always call it the snowball effect. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And, at some point it's going to catch up with you. So at some point, whether it's professional help or it's, whether it's somewhere where, to get religious beliefs at, talk to that, head of, congregation, or, seeing a doctor or talking to a close friend or loved one, just kind of releasing it, just talking, that could be, just somewhere to start. So just holding it in is just not a good situation. And for me, obviously, I'm a, good living testimony of that.
And one thing for people that is really difficult to understand about mental health, and particularly people who don't have experience with their own mental health struggles, or they don't have a family member who's been through it, they don't really understand the concept because, and it's almost not their fault because they really don't understand what it's like to live with those feelings. And I think it's important for people to try and articulate kind of what those feelings were while they were in it, so that people are more aware of what signs could be for themselves or someone they
Yeah.
love.
I think for me, I was just really agitated. Every little thing, upsetting me. I wasn't taking care of myself like I should have, as far as eating healthy, exercise and just taking care of myself in general. I kind of separated from a lot of people, just kind of like a loner. Wasn't talk, start talking to family and friends and those things like that. And I think those are the three main things that, kind of, for me, those are signs that you can kind of look for as a person start with, separating themselves and, being real very irritable, not taking care of themselves, kind of just see like they're just, down in the dumps. You can just start to see those like, signs that, something is really going on.
And as it relates to when you, unfortunately, it got to the point where you attempted suicide. What was more extreme about the feelings leading up to that point? And that's why also I give you so much bravery for being open. I know I can ask you that question, and you're
Mhm.
comfortable talking about it.
I think for me, it was just, I was tired, at the point I was just, tired with, everywhere I went, people was asking me about my career. Where I went home, it wasn't peace of mind because I was just, so sad my father's there. I couldn't pick up the phone and call him. So everywhere I turned, it was like no peace of mind. And honestly, I just got tired of it. I was like, it's just better off I'm just not here. That's the way I was feeling at the time. And that's pretty much what led up to it.
And but you're here now. So
Yeah.
and you'll hear this a lot. There's actually a famous story of a guy, his name's Kevin Hines. He
Mhm.
was in such a dark place, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, survived, and said on the way down, all regret. That's kind of that moment
Mm.
you
Mhm.
realize, okay, I'm not taking anything for granted. It's that waking up moment, as dark and risky of a situation that it is to wake you up. Those are guys you have to listen to. So after you went through all that and, you know, somehow kept your life, what was the feelings you were going through? I mean, it must be so just overwhelming, the amount of feelings
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, definitely overwhelming. It's just kind of like one of those surreal moments, like, wow, what did I just try to do that really just, do what I just did? Like, this is insane. And but for me, it kind of got worse for me because I was like, I definitely, for me at that time, I was like, I definitely can't tell nobody what has happened. Because I'm definitely, going to lose my NBA career, lose friends and family. That's what I thought. So for me, it was one of those things like, am I really at this place where it's just pretty much rock bottom? And but definitely was definitely regret. Like, I can't do this again. The people who care for me, but even go, they know where to go from there at that point.
And it's not just like that sort of wake up happens and automatically you can go back to normal life and say to everyone, okay, I'm better, no issues.
Mhm.
I'm sure it was still a struggle, but you did maintain a professional basketball career. You played overseas
Yeah.
after your first 2 years with the Knicks, then 2 years with the Bulls. You played basketball up until 2017, right?
Mhm.
So what was the difference in maybe when negative feelings would come, you would start to, I mean, by maintaining that career, you must have been
Mhm.
doing something right, I guess is my point.
It was definitely a struggle, but once I took a couple of years off from basketball, because in between that time, I did like take like 2 or 3 years off, and during that 2 3 years was kind of when I kind of started to get myself together, and then playing overseas kind of helped me a little bit weirdly because I was able to get away, I was able to escape, from everything that was going here. I was able to heal. I was able to just accept that my NBA career was over, and over there, nobody really didn't care about the NBA career or being, not panning out, not being a bust, whatever they want to call it. People didn't care about their stuff over there. It was like, you're Michael, you're our Michael, we love you. So that just helped me just feel that love again, feel that need of, I am worth something. So that kind of helped. That was, for me, that was like a big turning point going overseas.
Would you say mental health in sports there was looked at a little bit differently, or is it kind of still that taboo thing to talk about? I mean, I'm sure it's not at a place where you're going to have every guy saying, "Oh, I'm struggling with anxiety. I'm stressed about this at all times." But was it a little bit more advanced than maybe what you saw in the NBA?
Oh yeah, now, back then, no. As I look at somebody like Ron Artest, well, Metta World Peace, people consider him, that guy's crazy. I'm like, he's far from it. I've had many conversations with him. And obviously, he had, whatever it was, whatever the issue was, it was something that he had to deal with. And but just an amazing person, wasn't crazy at all, very intelligent. And so, at that time, it's considered crazy. So a lot of guys were scared. Whereas now, I think, guys like Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan, those type of guys, and a couple of football players did it too. They spoke up about it, spoke out about, their stories. And I think it kind of forced the NBA to say, okay, we really got a problem here. We got to do something about it. And they were like, wow, we got to do something because now our stars are speaking out about it. We got to do something. So now they're on top of it. Now they're trying to put together programs and try to see how they can help, help guys, navigate through this and have a good career and a personal life as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people love the job Adam Silver's doing as commissioner. And one of those
Yeah.
things that I respect him so much for, and obviously a lot of players do, is I'm not sure if it's only him making this decision, but now all the NBA teams have mental health professionals. Like all of them are assigned. And that comes from guys in the league, the players, the people who are bringing the league money, the people that are bringing the league attention. They need the help. So, of course, the NBA is going to listen. But like you mentioned, it wasn't always talked about. And now that there is a conversation, it just proves that the only way to get progress and the only way to get more resources is to talk about it. No one knows what's going on. Who can help you,
Yeah, I agree 100%. So like I said, Adam Silver has done an amazing job of putting in these programs, these players. So, guys can kind of feel like, hey, I can, I am going through something, I can go talk to somebody and I can continue, being because right now it's so hard on guys. Like I can't imagine if I had to play in this era where it's, you got the Twitters, Instagrams, Facebook, so many media outlets. And, the guy, he posted a picture of him and his family under it, got so many hate comments. And it's like, at some point, people really realize, like, these guys are human. And so at some point, it does take its toll. Guys say, "Oh, I don't read that," so they read it, and it hurts. So it's one of those things. Like that's another thing guys got to deal with and kind of have a strong stomach for. So yeah, definitely, it's amazing what Adam Silver is doing, putting these programs so guys can, at that point, on the outside world they can't feel vulnerable, but at least behind closed doors, there's somebody they trust that can talk to and just release whatever's going on, whether it's a parent is ill, something's going on at home, or whatever it could be. They can kind of release that anxiety or stress or whatever's going on in their life.
And you talk about the impact of social media, and you mentioned Ron Artest before. He is definitely one of the more interesting cases when it comes to mental health in the NBA, just because of almost the shift. If you look at what people thought of him in 2004, that brawl with the Pacers and Pistons in the playoff game, you're right. People, especially when mental health wasn't talked about as honestly and openly as it is now, people just said, crazy guy, what's wrong with him, psycho. Like I can't imagine the hate. I was a little bit too young to be involved in that. I just kind of was watching and like what's going on. But now you look at it and there's so many people like you're a former player. There's Kevin Love, there's DeRozan, who will stand up for them, have their back and say, this is actually bigger than what it looks like. It's more complex. They don't want to maybe make all the decisions they're making. So the only way to kind of raise awareness is have these conversations, and people in media, have to try to balance out all that hate and kind of tell your story and get people to say, oh, awesome, I didn't know that. These guys are human too. And more importantly, it just makes everyday people be like, well, if these people I idolize, these people I watch on ESPN all the time, they're doing it, they're dealing with this too. Well, that makes it a little easier for them,
Yeah. I agree. Because I actually, so funny you said it, I had a reporter that was writing like some nasty articles about me when I was playing.
Really?
And he called me to apologize. And he started telling me his story. He was like, hey, I was very depressed as I was writing. I was a writer. I was very depressed,
Wow.
and I would write these bad stories about you guys because it made me feel bad about myself. But hearing your story, seeing what you went through, I hope I didn't make anything worse. And we had a really amazing conversation, and it was just like very needed. I was like, wow, like this is huge. So, like you said, I think something definitely, media should take. I get it. Everybody has a job as entertainment, but sometimes certain stuff does cross the line because guys are human. Some guys do have family and kids that watch that stuff. So not only is it affecting that person, but like say, if, for instance, you talk about LeBron James really bad on TV, and his kids have to go to school, and you don't think those kids are saying that stuff to his kids. So not only attacking that person, but attacking their kids too, and they're young. How do they have? So we just got to be careful these days because, like, it's definitely, this bullying and being, trying to be mean to people. They don't know what, the effects it can take on people.
Well, yeah, and everything's magnified too. So if an NBA player messes up about something or there's this comment, millions and millions of people are going to see it, and that type
Yeah.
of weight is way more than just, oh, this group of people in the street saw it. It's everything's times a million, the way
Hmm.
social media is presenting everything. But that also goes for the good stories too. You can inspire so many people that way, and that's why it's important to have those things out there. That's amazing. The reporter did
Yeah.
that. Was that while you were playing for the Knicks?
No, this is. I mean, he wrote this stuff when I was like kind of like my first year out the league. Like this horrible stuff he's writing. And then like about 4 years later, an article came out in the New York Post, and he saw it. He reached out. And we just had a good conversation.
In that New York Post
So,
article 4 months ago, you said?
no. The New York Post article was like 2014, I think, 15.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Oh, because I
he
read
reached
the
out.
the one recently on the New
Yeah, it
York
was
Post
another one. Yeah,
that talks about it's a good segue. It talks about your role at Yeshiva University,
yeah.
Division III school. Um, I saw that article in the New York Post, and that's what
Mm.
actually had me reach out to Yeshiva. That's how I got in contact with you.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so I'm glad that article was written thanks to that reporter.
Yeah,
Um,
wow, awesome.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, speaking as a member of the tribe, the Jewish tribe,
yeah,
Yeshiva's a Jewish school.
yeah,
It's such an interesting fit and almost, in not any bad way, just almost humorous on the outside to see an ex NBA player towering over. And this is coming from a heartwarming place as like
yeah,
a fellow Jewish kid and Jewish basketball player. I can only imagine what it would be like. You have these everyday kids now are being coached by and it's not like big time basketball national presence.
yeah,
It's Division III. Not like that's bad players.
yeah, yeah.
But now you got Michael Sweetney coming in and coaching. Like, what was that like for the players? And then what type of, like, I don't know, what was that like for you?
I think it was beneficial for both of us. Like I tell people, I learned so much from those guys this year. It was amazing. Like just the way that guys 1 through 16, they all bought into one thing, and that's to win. It's no I, it's all about us. And guys that complain about playing time, and just how selfless everybody was on the team. Because there were guys on their team that could, probably 4 or 5 guys could average 20 points if they wanted to, but they didn't, and they were just all in it for the team, and just how that make someone around me better. So just learning so much about those guys, about how they just willing to give from themselves more than anybody else. So that was amazing. And for me, just share like my life experience, my my basketball experience with those guys. So it was like I said, it was beneficial for both of us to be around and do that. It was amazing.
And do you think that your experience now with the mental health advocacy and just being a spokesperson for that, do you ever
Mhm.
have players come up to you about those specific issues?
Oh, all the time.
All
All
the
the time,
time.
yeah, all the
Wow.
time. Guys will reach out to me probably, to kind of just want to talk or just say what's going on in their, personal life or something they frustrated on the court. So I get it all the time, man. I'm just good. I can be able to relate to those guys and just kind of just, share some knowledge and experience with them.
That's unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
that's I can only imagine. And you being the former NBA player you are too, it's almost probably like they want to relate to you on the same level. It's almost like, wow, you understand it. It's cool to connect with an NBA player like that, I'm sure.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's been like I said on both sides. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I had a couple guys that called me out, think they can beat me 1-on-1. So they always want to try me on the court sometimes. So it's just amazing group to be around. Like I said, from the coaching staff, from the players, even the school management. It's just it's an amazing group and community to be a part of, and I'm just excited that my family is a part of, the community. So we love it.
Yeah, and as we shift away from most of the mental health talk, I really, really appreciate you sharing your story like you have. I definitely want to. I mean, it'll still be mixed in for sure throughout the episode. So if you're here for only the mental health stuff, you're not losing all of it.
That's all it.
But I want to definitely give something for the basketball fans specific to your basketball career. You were, and it just goes to show mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter how successful you are. The type of achievements you might have, it affects everyone. You were a dominant player in college. And I think sometimes people forget that it's no small feat to be top 10 in Georgetown history in scoring. You got Ewing on that list, Alonzo Mourning, just some unbelievable players that you're kind of linked to. And you only played 3 seasons. So, I mean, you were All-American, honorable mention too, like Naismith, I have it all written down, Naismith College Player of the Year finalist. Like, you had all the hardwood, or close to it at least, the nominations. What was that like, having that stardom, and then kind of when you go to the NBA, it's a little bit of a smaller role, obviously, right away?
For me, it was kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of, some people say they saw it, but for me, it was shocking because, going into my freshman year in Georgetown, there were 2 All-Americans in front of it, 2 guys that were like, one was, pretty much thought it was your first round NBA pick. Another person was kind of like a borderline All-American. So a lot of people thought that I wasn't going to start. I wasn't going to get playing time. So people said it was a stupid decision on my part. And I just wanted to prove everybody wrong. And, I put in the hard work, and I was like, I'm doing what I got to do. And I went in there, I won a starting job. And I think that's when my confidence kind of built up. Like, wow, if I can beat out these guys. And then as the game started going, like my freshman year, I had a couple 20-point games. And, it started just like, really, going well for me. Even after my freshman year, I had a few people trying to get me to leave school, go to the NBA. So I was like, wow, this is real. So my confidence level definitely picked up, and I just felt like couldn't nobody guard me. And so from my sophomore and junior year, I just carried that attitude, like, I'm the best big man in the country. I'm going to go out there and prove it. And that was his attitude that carried it. So it was amazing to be a part of, especially doing it at home. I'm being from the Washington D.C. area, so being able to have family and friends come see, watch, you play well and things like that. So it was amazing.
And you mentioned you're from Maryland, of course. Was it a dream of yours to play at Georgetown? I'm sure growing up you had there was the Ewing lore around it, or did you have other schools in mind?
So I kind of did some unorthodox. I verbally committed to Georgetown my sophomore year, so I didn't really have a lot of schools recruiting me like that after that point. So it was just kind of like, once the biggest school came to me and approached me, it was kind of like a no-brainer. So it was kind of, I did something out the worm. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, times when you know, you know." So it was just amazing to be home, and so I loved it.
And John Thompson, the historic Georgetown coach, he coached until 1999. Was he part of the recruiting process for you? Because
Yeah.
it's interesting because he left your first year. I saw you
Yeah.
played 3 years, and his last year was the one before. Was that like a little bit upsetting? You didn't get to play for such a legendary coach?
So he recruited me, and so when he told me he was leaving, it was like very upsetting. But he told me, "Hey, I'll still be around," and which he was. He was at every single practice, every single game. He just wasn't a coach that was coaching me during the games on the floor, but he was around every day. So, just having him around and just knowing that he kept his word, it was a good experience.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely want to also ask
Yeah.
about, after your Georgetown career, draft night. So 2003 must have been an amazing time for you. I'm also not sure if mental health struggles had a role in that as well. Like, was it a nervous night for you? Like I said, I would guess it was an amazing night.
Oh no, it was amazing night.
Mhm.
I was just excited to share that, have my mom and dad there, to share that experience with them. Something that, as a child, every child say, "I want to be an NBA player," and for me to be in New York City, sitting in the green room, waiting for my name to be called, was an amazing experience. So, leading up to it, it was just, it was kind of nervous. You don't know where you about to spend your life at. So that part was like a little nerve wracking. I know what's going to happen, but just hearing your name called and just watching your parents like cry in excitement was probably like one of the best feelings in the world. Just, I had that picture in my head when I'm walking up, and then when I turn, shook this, David Stern's hand, I turned. First thing I saw was my parents crying, and excitement. So that right there is just like an amazing moment that I would never forget.
And 2003 is definitely top 2, maybe number 1, famous draft class of all time. 1984 is the other one, that had MJ and Elijah on. But 2003, that had LeBron, everyone knows, and then Darko Milicic, someone who didn't have quite the career, but did play a lot of years in the NBA as some of the top guys that went after him. Melo, D Wade, Chris Bosh, even Chris Kaman, Kirk Heinrich. There were a lot of guys in the top 10 that had really, really solid NBA careers. Was it special to just share the stage with those guys that night? Like that must be a really special crew to have been a part of. Or was it kind of like everyone was doing their own thing and, you guys didn't really have a bond from that?
Well, leading up to it, it was so much going on because like you had interviews with teams, interview with media, so it's like so much going on. So you don't really have time. You see guys in passing and say what's up. So you don't really have that much time to interact with guys. But it was just amazing to definitely when we got together for that picture, and it's like, wow, this is history. Like you see LeBron and D Wade and those guys, and I always tell people like Dwayne Wade was one of those guys that I saw him play in college. I kind of knew like, man, this dude's gonna be a star. A lot of people like didn't know about him until he got to Miami, but I was like, I knew it was coming with him. He was an amazing player. So just amazing. Obviously Melo, I played against him in college, so I already knew about him, what he can do. So it's just amazing to share that experience with those guys and just be a part of history. No matter what happened in my career, nobody can never take that from me that I was able to get that picture on stage with those guys. So I'm cherishing that moment.
Yeah, well, you still had some very, very good games in the NBA. I saw highlights. You had 19 and 12 against the Lakers, against Kobe team when he was still wearing number 8. I was watching those highlights, and it looked like the Lakers they wanted nothing to do with you in that game. You were just pounding everyone inside.
Yeah. Like I said, when given a chance, I feel I could have been an effective player, could have had a long career, but I always tell people, my mind didn't carry along with my talent. So, the talent was there, but, my mind wasn't there, and I just couldn't, be a professional, do what I had to do what it takes to be a professional. So it's definitely caught off me, and I ended up losing my career over it. It sucks, but, I think everything happens for a reason, and I think I'm in a position now to be able to share my story and, to be a good dad and husband and, friend.
Yeah, and it's interesting. A lot of people, they'll look at, and I'm speaking about the average basketball fan, like the guy just watching. They'll see a player in a draft that might not have had the most successful or long career, and then make some snarky comment. But everyone's got something they're dealing with, and I really, like I mentioned, it is a little bit heartbreaking that mental health played such a big role and maybe limited some of your potential that you might have had in the NBA. But that's why you should talk about it. So maybe there's guys now that are rookies, some guy in the NBA, it could be anyone, Zion, Ja Morant, anyone, could experience something so heartbreaking and difficult, and they should be able to talk about it. So by you kind of setting the standard and all the other guys in the NBA, you're definitely paving the way for what's going to be a lot better handled issue, I think.
Oh no, for sure. Definitely, it's one of those things that hopefully that somebody can look at my story and learn from it. So they can end up having that 10, 15-year career and not be cut short like mine. So they can just use my story as something with not what not to do, but just how to handle the situation, knowing that hey, if I'm going through something, I should get help because I saw what happened to this guy in his career. So maybe I can just people can use that as a stepping stone. So in a way, like I think it's a good thing that this happened because for me, if I can save and change some lives, that gives me all the pleasure in the world.
And are there any NBA guys you're kind of in touch with about this issue? Like it must be an interesting community of kind of these mental health advocates in sports. Do you guys have sort of not necessarily a committee or anything, but is there this sort of mutual agreement? Like this is really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely, talk to guys about it. Actually, a good friend of mine, Keon Doolin, he's the president of the mental health program for the NBA. And I actually talked to him today. This is what we're going to the NBA Players Association Live next week for that. So just, me and him, we stay in dialogue of, just picking our brain, each other's brains about how can we change things and, just giving him some input. So it's just been a good ride that we can just share these stories and share our experiences to, hopefully can change the next generation.
All right. Well, that's pretty much what I have for basketball related questions. And to wrap this show up, obviously coronavirus now, you're stuck at home. I did a little Instagram stalking on your page. I see you have 2 kids, right?
I got 3, 2 boys
3.
and a little girl. Yeah.
Are you teaching them basketball right now? Like I'm sure the time with them has been extra special.
So people always laugh at us. So my kids don't like basketball at all.
No.
They don't want to watch it. They don't want to play it. They just don't like it at all. So my kid, they love soccer and stuff like that. So I go outside, I play baseball with them, or freeze tag and stuff like that. So basketball, basketball's not it. So they just try to, just try to just keep them active, one way or another. So I'm not gonna force it on them, but it's fun. People are like, really? I'm like, yeah, they don't like it. So we'll see. And things may change in the future, but right now they're not feeling it.
Do you miss like the basketball life right now, the coaching, or are you just kind of
Oh
embracing
no, I'm
the
definitely
family
definitely
time?
going through it. I definitely miss coaching and teaching, and being around the players and that camaraderie, and seeing the guys. So hopefully sooner than later we can all get back together and help at a healthy point and be around each other.
And my last question, I asked this
Mhm.
to all of my guests. What advice, just simply, would you give to someone who's down in the dumps right now, struggling with uh, a mental health related issue, depression, anxiety, and they're having a tough time going through it?
I think right now, especially right now, I kind of say these things, especially like during this time period. If you're going through something, I always tell people like try to eat healthy foods, because people don't realize like what you put in your body definitely controls your mind. Like you're putting good foods in your body, and trying to get outside and go for a walk or exercise. Just try to stay active and do those two things. That kind of helps you come out of funks a lot. And just try to take this time to like really just just pray and say whatever faith you are, just stay in your faith. And just try to do things that make you laugh. I always tell people like, man, sometimes with everything going on with the coronavirus, don't watch that news all day long because it's going to just upset you, especially if you're if you're going through mental health. That's always going to depress you. And I try to find something funny on TV to watch, or a funny book to read, or watch some sports or something. There's something just to get your mind off things that's going on in the real world. So just try to stay positive.
And I think I can't agree any more with
Mm.
what you just said. I
Yeah.
try to focus on the healthy eating. I try to stay active every day. As I mentioned to you before the show, and all the listeners who listen,
Mm.
bipolar disorder is something I've kind of dealt with my whole life. But
Mm.
at this stage in my life, it doesn't really cripple me from being a productive person or functioning, because I've just kind of went through this whole journey of learning. And I do all those things, or it's kind of this constant battle. Even though I'm all right, I need to kind of make sure I
Mm.
prevent issues from coming, and eating healthy and making sure I get shots up every single day outside just for fun
Yeah,
keeps me happy.
for
Or do
sure.
you still shoot around and stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I do. I still shoot around a little bit. Still, yeah.
I love it.
Hopefully, I can get up and down. I can play some 5-on-5 soon, but we'll see.
I didn't have close to the success you had, but I
Yeah.
pride myself on my 3-point shooting. So I got to kind of keep my jumper in form.
Oh yeah, that should never go away.
All right.
Might lose
Well,
your athleticism, but the jumper should always stay.
100%. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining the show, Michael. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good one. Be safe.
Yep.